Hello and welcome to Take Time. I am your host, Patrick Marlette, and let's talk about why we buy watches. So I had this amazing sort of transformative conversation the other day with another watch geek like myself, and as we were conversing, he brought up a point about timepieces that was really intriguing to me. So we were having a conversation about telling time, and I think it was spurred on by a brief conversation of the Apple Watch. And he, looked at his watch and he said, "These things are obsolete." And I was looking at him thinking, you are right. Because you know what? I could tell the time 100 different ways at any point during my day. I don't need a watch. So that immediately begged the question, why do we wear them? I believe there are only three major reasons we buy watches. The brand and its heritage, whatever value that holds for us, the lifestyle and culture surrounding the brand, and ultimately, the artistry. For many, a brand holds meaning. Let's just say, for instance, your grandfather owned a JLC, and he passed it on to you. That watch is always going to have a tender place in your heart. My own personal story is with my father. You see, my father served in the Navy for 21 years, and very early on in his career, to treat himself, he purchased an Omega Seamaster. Now, he wore that thing every single day. I would remember seeing him in uniform wearing that, whether it be his dress whites or his khaki military suit. The uniforms have changed since, but I always remember seeing him in that watch. I can remember as a kid holding his hand and seeing it on his wrist and thinking just how beautiful that timepiece was. Now, you'll notice as I bring up my own heritage with this particular watch that I'm not really talking about the brand here. No, it's true, brands have their own heritage, their own history, right? And collectors love and value that history. They should. But personally, while this knowledge of heritage helps with your perception of the brand and helps you make a more informed decision when purchasing from said brand, it really means nothing to me. The brands are a business, plain and simple. The heritage that matters to me is the one I developed with my father and the one he developed with his Omega. I remember talking to him about it years later, and he was telling me, I could have bought a Rolex. It really didn't matter to him, but something about the Omega drew him to that watch. And don't get me wrong, I have personal feelings about that brand where I feel that, my own collection isn't complete without an Omega. And if you know anything about me, I only collect vintage and modern Seiko. So having one Omega is as much, differentiation with brand that I'll have. But back to my previous point in concerning brands and heritage. It could have been any watch on my father's wrist. What mattered most to me is that he came back home every time wearing it. That's the kind of heritage that matters to me. My dad said it could have been any brand. But because of that, I'm always going to have a soft spot for Omega. Now, the watch you buy inherently says something about you. Now, these are all intrinsic properties of buying pretty much anything, but for our discussion today, specifically watches. You could love quirky 70s chronographs. You could love obscure sports watches. You could like cheap Casios and Timexes. You could solely collect Swatch watches, or maybe you love hot horology. Now, when you buy that Quartz Timex, it says, I like something affordable that's accessible and tells the time. When you buy that G-Shock, it says, I need something that I feel secure wearing. When you buy that solid gold Rolex, it says, you get my point. This whole video, the fact that you're watching it, is because of our shared passion for this hobby, no matter who you are. Now, existing within this lifestyle is a certain culture that the brand, and more importantly, the consumer cultivates. Whatever you buy, there is a whole group of people buying it for likely the same reasons. It makes you feel empowered, fun, secure, and further still, creative. There's a huge modding culture out there, and I'm not just talking about Seiko and Vostok. I mean, there are groups of people that do custom engravings and etchwork and detailing on high-end pieces to low-end pieces. There is a huge culture of modding watches for people that are just a little more creative. Rich, poor, in between. We buy these obsolete contraptions because of the way they make us feel when we wear them. Which leads me to my next point. This is probably the main reason we buy watches, aside from telling the time, because it's like having a piece of art on your wrist. Now, raise your hand or say, I do that in the comment section down below if you mainly look at your watch to admire it. Moreover, anything, we wear timepieces because we enjoy the experience of wearing something we consider marvelous on our wrist. Gosh, I still remember, I don't have it anymore, but I still remember one of the first watches that I thought was just the coolest thing. I was 9 years old. The newest Jurassic Park movie had just come out, and Burger King had this, special with the kids meal where you'd get a digital watch. And I remember getting one that had a raptor's eye on it. And when you moved it was holographic. When you moved it, you could see the time just beyond the raptor's eye. Talk about obsolete. Like this, it's already making it difficult for you to read the time. But I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And I remember wearing that watch every day. I know it's somewhere, maybe. My brother had a few of those as well. We both thought they were cool. I just thought they were a little bit cooler because I still buy them. But I know a ton of people that have those childhood watches that still wear them and admire them and love them over any other watch. There's really no greater reason. My father wore it, my grandfather wore it, my mother wore it. It's a part of a life I want to live or live up to. And I just think it's wonderful. Enthusiast, if you still remember the first watch you ever had, share what that was in the comment section down below. What about it inspired this craze for you? Or if there's a watch that's a family heirloom or very, very important to you, I'd love to hear about it. This is the craziest, most obsolete hobby to buy into, yet we do it, and I love it. Guys, if you like this video, feel free to hit that like button. If you have friends, forums, or groups that you think would be interested in this kind of content, maybe share this video with them. And also, as always, I love the conversations we share in the comment section down below, and that's what these videos are for, so feel free to start up a new conversation down below. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, get to it! We do 2 videos a week, 2 to 3 sometimes, depending on if I'm shooting a vlog. And if you enjoy watch content, well, this is kind of a good home for you. Also, while you're down there, there's a bell that I've been notified about that notifies you when my most recent video airs, so you can watch it just then. Again, my name is Patrick Marlett, and thank you for the time.